Prayer Breakfast. Joining me now is the current chair of the National Prayer Breakfast, Richard Bragdon, MP for Tobique, Mactaquac, New Brunswick. Welcome to 100 Huntley Street, Richard.
It's an absolute joy to be on with you again. Thanks, Laura. It's a real privilege.
Well, it's our honor. Now, Richard, for our viewers who are watching right now that may not know as much about the National Prayer Breakfast, can you tell us a bit about the heart of the Prayer Breakfast and the history behind this event?
Absolutely. This is our 59th annual National Prayer Breakfast. And of course, we also have the leadership dinner that takes place the night before. But the prayer breakfast came out of a weekly prayer gathering of Christian MPs that would gather on the Hill from all parties and started back, obviously nearly 60 years ago. And they would gather together in a nonpartisan way and check their party affiliations at the door. And there in that time, and it continues to this day, every week that the House is sitting, MPs will come together and we focus on the things that unite us as Christians. We focus on our devotion to Christ, the difference that he has made in our life, and the importance of praying for the decisions that we are making on behalf of Canadian citizens, as well as for our Prime Minister, for our leaders of various parties, and obviously praying for the country as a whole. And we believe as people of faith who serve in Ottawa, it's important to pray for your nation and it's important to pray for one another. And it's a time where there's vulnerability, there's a chance to share. And each week we have a different MP that will share a devotional or a thought or something that means a lot to them, a scripture, and they'll share. And then we have discussion time and then prayer time and reflection. And I look forward to it. It's one of my favorite hours of the entire week. And it's a great time to get together and just leave all the noise of Parliament Hill outside, and we meet in a neutral location, and we just have great fellowship together. And that's out of which came the National Prayer Breakfast as well. That's an annual event where we invite Canadians to come from across the country and join us in the heart of our nation's capital, the seat of our democracy on Parliament Hill, and pray for our country.
It's so beautiful, Richard, and so inspiring. You know, the Bible instructs us to pray for our leaders and to know that our leaders are praying weekly throughout Ottawa. It's very, very inspiring. And I don't think many people realize that. And of course, these once-a-year national prayer breakfasts, when you come together in such a public way, we get to understand what's happening in terms of faith in our capital. Now, the theme for this year's event, for the National Prayer Breakfast event, what is the theme and what does your team have planned?
We're so excited about this. Our theme for this year's National Prayer Breakfast is Bridge Over Troubled Water, a very familiar phrase, of course, by the very popular song made famous by Simon and Garfunkel. But what was interesting, I was preparing and praying about what the theme should be for this year. We know that we have a lot of people who are in seasons of trouble. They're going through a lot of times. Geopolitically, the world is facing so many grave challenges, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of troubled water, as it were. But I felt like when I was praying, I just said, Lord, which direction should we go? And I got in the car, and I was driving into Fredericton for a meeting and just taking some time. And on the radio, and I was listening to the message on Christian radio on satellite, on the radio came the announcer, and he said, we're very excited about our next guest who's going to be talking about her upcoming album. And it's Natalie Grant and her husband, Bernie Herms, and they're going to be sharing about their new album that came about during our time in COVID and when the world was going through a lot of uncertainty at that point. And a lot of these songs are what meant a lot to them as a couple and as a family, and songs that meant a lot to them through various times of challenges in their life. And it's her new album called Seasons. So the first song they bring on, and she gives the background to it, was Bridge Over Troubled Water. And she sang that song and everything in me just lit up. I thought, oh my land, what a perfect theme for this year's National Prayer Breakfast. And she related how that for her, Christ is the bridge over troubled water, and how that is the great hope for Canada and for the world, is to know the peace and the comfort and the assurance that he can offer everyone, including those who are in positions of leadership or those who are proverbially down and out. It does not matter where you are on the social economic spectrum. That hope can be found in the ultimate bridge of the ages, Christ. And she shared that song. And of course, out of that, I called up my friends and I said, I think we've got the theme. In fact, I know we have the theme for this year's National Prayer Breakfast, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and how Christ is truly the perfect bridge between God and man, between our brokenness and his absolute holiness, and between where we miss it and how he makes up the difference. And he's the perfect bridge. And when our hearts are overwhelmed and when we're troubled, we can find great hope and assurance in the one who changes not and brings the promise of life and peace. And to bring that to the national stage and to bring it to Canada's Parliament and to those who are leading our nation at this time, I think it's going to be an extremely hopeful time and an important time and a consequential time. And I'm excited to be a part of it for sure.
Oh, so inspiring to hear your heart and the words that you're sharing about the National Prayer Breakfast this year. And we have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to ask you, will we be hearing Natalie's song played throughout the night at all?
Absolutely. In fact, she will be singing it in person. I'm glad to announce here that on 100 Huntley Street, a great place to announce it. It's also gone out in some communications, but we're very excited to have Natalie Grant and her husband, who is a Canadian citizen, grew up here in Canada. His parents live in British Columbia. His brother pastors in the Edmonton area, I believe. He's got a sister here. And both the Grammy-nominated and Dove Award-winning Natalie Grant will be our guest singer for both the Leadership Dinner and at the Prayer Breakfast, and Bernie Herms will be accompanying her as a Grammy Award-winning composer. And he'll be playing a piano in a beautiful way, as only he can in some ways. They will be blessing us, and we're very excited about that. And I can also mention, too, our keynote speaker. We're very excited about having Pastor Claude Hood join us from the great city of Montreal. He has an incredible church, Église Nouvelle Vie, that's doing amazing things and helping those who are less fortunate. They minister to various communities. They run multiple services in the heart of Quebec. And it's amazing the work that he's doing. And he's coming with a wonderful message of hope for all Canadians. So we're excited about that. We're really looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, for sharing those special announcements of what people can expect at the National Prayer Breakfast and the National Leadership Dinner. And I'm thrilled that 100 Huntley Street will be coming to you. We have a special week of programming throughout that week where we're going to capture everything God is doing in the nation for these very special events. And for our viewers watching right now who want to get tickets to those events, please go to nationalprayerbreakfast.ca and you can get your tickets there. Richard, thank you so much for being with us today. We can't wait to see you in Ottawa.
We are so looking forward to it. God bless you. And yes, we know that Christ is the true bridge over troubled water. We're excited about what's going to happen at the 59th Annual National Prayer Breakfast and Leadership Dinner. Look forward to having 100 Huntley Street join us for sure.
See you soon.